What's up, everybody? Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night to talk about physical media, about Blu-rays, 4Ks, and all that good stuff. I hope everybody's having a great 31 days of Halloween. I know I haven't updated my 31 days of Halloween information yet, but I'm going to remedy that right now. So, some of you may know from previous videos that I couldn't reveal a lot of my 31 day of Halloween picks because I do an annual thing here. I say annual, this is the second year we've done it, where we do 12 hours of terror here in my studio space. We watch 12 straight hours of horror movies, and the list is a secret list that doesn't get revealed until we actually watch. So I couldn't reveal those films. That was 7 films, so that really gets the month started right. So I had to wait till that happened. It happened over the weekend. It was very intense. It was fun. It was exhausting. It took me a day to recover from it. We did it Saturday night into Sunday morning from 10 to 10. So I'm going to talk to you now about those movies that we watched. And one of those, sadly, is a digital copy only. And I'll get to that in a minute. So if you like physical media and you like this kind of conversation about DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4Ks, please, if you haven't already done so, give me a subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get updates on when my videos come out, because like I've said before, I don't post on a regular basis. I post as I can in between my own production work. So anyway, back to what we're talking about. I'm doing another 12 hours of terror this weekend, the real 12 hours of terror, the one that I've done for years at my local art house theater. We didn't have it last year because of pandemic. It's back. It's really cool. They're requiring proof of vaccination to do it, and hey, I'm for it. I'm all for it. So let me hit this coffee, and let's go over the movies that we watched over the weekend in our 12 hours of terror. 7 movies we watched. Because you got to leave in a lot of space for breaks every few movies, and make coffee, get snacks, all that stuff, get up and move so you can keep your energy flowing, because by hour 11 and 12, it is difficult to keep, awake. But we did it. So here are the movies that we watched for our 12 hours of terror, and my first 7 films to show you for my 31 days of Halloween. We opened it up. I always think you should open up a grouping of movies with, a good movie, but something that's a little bit more tame and gets everybody in the vibe. So we started with Tobe Hooper's 1981 film, The Funhouse. This is obviously a follow-up film to Texas Chainsaw. Texas Chainsaw was 76, maybe, or earlier, something like that. Anyway, this is a much more bloodless film from Hooper, but it does feature his signature sort of dark, weird humor that's throughout this film. Basically, it's the story of a group of kids teenagers, who go to a fun house, or go to a carnival, a traveling carnival with sideshow freaks and the whole thing, thing that I had never saw before. I assumed that I don't know, I'm struggling here a little bit. I just don't know if how long this stuff existed or whatever, but they had 2-headed cows and all that stuff. And the thing about this film you should know before going into it is a horror film, but it's I would say broken in half. The first half is more of a survey of carnival, sideshow, traveling carnivals, that kind of thing. It's kind of an homage to them. They're long sequences where you see what the stage shows were like, and sequences where these kids go through the freak show parts and look at the things. Are they fake? Are they real? All that stuff. So there's a lot of that before it gets to the horror part. So just be warned. It's only an hour and a half-ish long, but it is a slow burn, at least in the first half. I enjoy it, though, because this movie is shot so lush. I mean, it obviously feels like a low-budget horror film, also in a carnival. But this thing is shot with some beautiful anamorphic lenses and like I said, very lush, luxurious crane shots and stuff. It's like, a Hollywood summer tentpole movie, but low-budget horror movie at the same time. Anyway, so the kids decide that it would be a really cool idea to sneak into the fun house and spend the night, having sex and all the things that they do. It's a bad idea, of course, and murders ensue. Very basic storyline. There are some twists here on how they handle the final girl, what you expect. There's homages within this to both Psycho and Halloween. Very fun movie. Good, kind of easy way to start. Honestly, if this came out now, it'd probably be PG-13 because there's just not a lot of blood in it. There's plenty of kills, but they're not super bloody. There you go. So we moved from that into something super, not edgy, but super kind of experimental as far as what people like and don't like. Because this is a movie you're either going to like or you're not going to like it. There's not a lot in between. And this is Evil Dead Trap. This is the new Unearthed Films release of Evil Dead Trap. I believe we did an unboxing of this. I didn't flip that artwork. Look, the disc is still in the player. There's the original artwork. So Evil Dead Trap is a 1988 Japanese horror film that tells the story of a reporter who has a nighttime magazine type of show, not news show necessarily, but she tends to focus on different stories, and it's a late night show. And she receives a mysterious package with a video in it, and she watches the video, and it shows someone getting killed, and she wants to investigate said video. Now, you have to accept something right away. You have to accept the fact that her and her team are going to go and investigate the location where this murder happened, and not call the police. You've got to accept that at the beginning. If you can't accept that, then none of the rest of the film is going to work for you. What I love about this film is, so they go and investigate, and a lot of gore happens from that point forward. What I love about this film is the filmmaker's love of other genres of film. The music, the score for this movie is clearly knocking off Goblin. It's very reminiscent of something like Deep Red, Dario Argento's Deep Red, and the color palette in this movie also calls back to giallo films. I mean, a room will be flooded in blue for some reason. You step through a door and it's flooded in yellow and red. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It just is. And that's kind of an Argento thing. So this movie loves that. And then there's a lot of sort of leaning into American slasher films. But then the end of this movie it goes into another kind of vibe, and I don't want to get into it to spoil it, but let me just say, this filmmaker does what he wants to do and doesn't give a damn what you think. It's something you got to see to believe. That's all I can say about that. So we kind of had a little subgenre thing happening of body horror, and those happened throughout the night, and the first real one, I'm not going to say, one of these other movies is also a body horror film, but I'm not going to say it because I don't want to be spoilery. But this is Society. This is the Arrow Films release. I've had this for a long time. But this is a fun movie to share. It's a DVD and Blu-ray that tells you how old this package is. And basically it's the story of a young guy who he's in therapy, he's having some mental issues, he's having some issues with clarity. He's seeing some weird things, but it doesn't appear to be real because other people don't see them. He feels that maybe he's adopted. And all his family seems to be concerned with is that he's going to make a really great contribution to society. There's a lot of social commentary about classism that happens here, and it's very, very, very on the nose, to the point where someone almost gets tapped on the nose at one point when the line is said. So this is definitely a horror comedy. Your mileage may vary on what you think is funny and what you don't. I think this movie is hilarious. I think the beats that are supposed to be funny are funny, and there's also a lot of beats in here that probably aren't supposed to be funny that are also funny, and it's just this way the film has aged. This film is made by people behind the Reanimator films, so you can expect a lot of crazy practical special effects in this movie. The end of this movie The last act is often referenced by other filmmakers as one that really has impact on them, and it will have impact on you too. If you haven't seen Society, you need to see it. The ending of this movie goes beyond explanation. Just see it. It had a huge impact on my group here. People, I thought they would hate it, maybe, but maybe not. I thought they would also see what's fascinating about it. Ended up, they loved it. So they were right there with me on this one, which is amazing. One that they surprisingly were not with me on is Climax. Climax. This is a Gaspar Noé film. Based on a true story. This film tells the story of a group of dancers that are celebrating a great show that they had put on, and they're having a party, and everybody's drinking sangria that is laced with LSD. So, everything is fine in the beginning, but then once the LSD starts kicking in, people overdose, weird things happen, people react to it differently, and the party becomes a nightmare. And one of the viewers in my group asked, this is not a horror movie, and I'm like, this is a horror movie. This is like the most, could be in a weird way reality. This could happen. I mean, this is terrifying. And it's a very difficult film to watch because it has the Gaspar Noé style of the floating camera. There's a 45-minute oneer in here that is one of the best oneers that's ever been put on film. Prepare for everything that could make you nauseous. The sound mix is incredible. The camera does what it does to make you feel like you're on the drug with them, and it works. When I think I commented on this channel, actually, when I saw the film initially, that it's the first time a movie has made me nauseous in the theater, and this movie did that. There were 6 of us in the viewing. 3 of us loved this movie. The other 3 really hated it. So, I call that a win. I don't think you're doing a movie night right if you're not challenging people a little bit. So the next film is something I had to import. There's not a domestic United States release for it, and I had to buy it in a 3-pack with 2 other movies that I don't necessarily need in my collection. One of them, I guess I'm kind of happy to have in the collection. The other one I don't really actually like, but it's the only way I could find this movie. Finding it on its own was expensive. And I imported this from the UK, and this set is actually Eden Lake, 30 Days of Night, and The Grudge. It's a weird packaging of movies, too, because they progressively get edgier. The Grudge is 30 Days of Night has a lot of gore, but it's still kind of a Hollywoodized horror movie, and then Eden Lake is a British horror film that is one of the most intense films of the last 20 years. I did go for it happily because each movie is on its own disc, so the compression was not bad. Quality's pretty good on this. But yeah, I had to import this from the UK. And luckily that's not an issue because I have the all-region player. So I'm not going to talk about the other 2 movies. I'm going to talk about Eden Lake because that's the one we watched. Eden Lake basically tells a story of a couple who were going off on a holiday weekend to a quarry and lake that is about to be demolished for a housing development. And they're going to go spend this last weekend in this beautiful space. Let me get some coffee here. And they encounter a group of young people that kind of feel, it's a desolate area. They feel like they kind of have ownership. They do what they want to do. They come from tough homes, obviously on the lower income side. And there's conflict that happens on sort of the beach area that explodes into some really disturbing shit. Let me just say that. It becomes very, very horrific very, very fast. This movie is also kind of on the nose in its social commentary, but not aggressively so, not like literally tapping you on the nose, because this is a humorless movie. I'll say that. There's no humor in this movie at all. It's dark. But the social commentary is all about sort of gentrification and also classism, because this couple, while they're very nice people, they exist in a bubble that lower income grouping of people has no knowledge of. And also, these people, these young kids and their families are being encroached upon by wealthy people taking over this property and putting a fence around it. It used to be a park, and then turning it into a development. So it's kind of like there's a lot to say in that space too. So it's nihilistic, this movie. It's dark, it's gory, it's disturbing as fuck. This is, Eden Lake is a very difficult movie to watch. The cast is phenomenal too. This actress right here, I didn't know her before, but she's outstanding in this movie. She owns this movie, really. Yeah, go in prepared, because this movie is intense, right? All right, I want to talk. I'll talk about my last physical media of the group, and then I'll talk about the digital movie we watched. So we last year, I took a list from people about things they wanted to see, and one of the things they asked for was my Bloody Valentine. Now, what they asked for was the remake, which is a great remake. Hang on, I think my mic is dropping here, guys. Sorry. It's a great movie, the remake, but I thought, a lot of people in this group have not seen the original. So if you're going to appreciate the remake, let's take a look at the original and see where it came from. And that is My Bloody Valentine. This movie tells the story of a man who was nearly killed in the collapse of a mine. He was basically left to die while there was a Valentine's dance going on. He was brought out. He was insane. He killed people. He was put in an insane asylum, but he warned this town never to have another dance, another Valentine's celebration. Well, they decided 20 years later to do so, and people started to die, and it becomes the mystery of who's the killer. Is it the guy? Did he get out of his insane asylum? Because it's not clear at first what happened with him over the 20 years. So anyway, I'm going to recommend the director's cut. This Scream Factory set. There's the original artwork, by the way. Has both the theatrical and the director's cut. The director's cut is not much longer. I mean, literally just a few minutes, mostly a few scenes, but it's slightly, it cuts away just a little bit. It doesn't cut as tightly on the gore, so you get a better look at some of the deaths and stuff. So I recommend the director's cut from this. This is a fun 80s slasher film. It's all the tropes you would expect. It's nicely done, and as much fun as the remake is, and someone said they like the remake better, the remake probably pushes the boundaries actually a lot more than this one, but this one is the mold. There wouldn't be a second without the first, so you should at least see the first. All right, so that's these movies. We had one movie that we had to watch digitally. I tried my best to reacquire this film physically, and it was just impossible, and that's a real shame to me. So there's a French film, I think it's from 2007, called Inside. I had this, Dimension Films released it on DVD back in that era on a line they had called Dimension Extreme. I had the DVD, and it did get stolen along with other stuff that I had. And I've been trying to replace it ever since. Now, the DVD can be had on eBay for like $40-50. And I was going to do that, but I really was hoping I would find a better quality copy. I ordered a Blu-ray, international Blu-ray, and it got here and it had no English subs. So that had to be sent back. I was almost ready to just skip it, and try to find something else. Then we found it on Google Play, of all places. You can get the uncut version of this film in 1080p, actually, with English subs on Google Play. It's like $10. So I bought it, and we had to, I'm usually pretty hardcore about starting with physical media for the screening, but it was the only way to find that film. So this film tells the story of a pregnant woman who is literally about to give birth on Christmas, and she's going to go into the hospital the next day to do this. If she doesn't do it on her own, they're going to do it for her. She's spending a night alone. Her husband has passed away, died in a car crash. A mysterious woman shows up at her door who knows her, knows that her husband is dead, and wants her baby. Then it becomes, from that point forward, a fight for survival. It's gory. It's super disturbing. Also nihilistic. This movie impacted me in ways not many movies have. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend it with that warning. This is an NC-17 movie. This movie, I saw it for the first time on the DVD. It was sent to me for review back in the day. But it played at our art house theater during their 12 Hours of Terror, and was so edgy that they have not played something as controversial since because of people's complaints. So keep all that in mind. This is a dark, dark movie. So that's it. That's our first 7 movies in the 12 Hours of Terror. I'll come back at you with some more films that I'm watching in another video, and we'll talk about the 12 Hours of Terror I'm doing this weekend at the Belcourt. I don't know what movies they're showing. I know it's probably about another 7 movies or so that'll be added to my 31 horror movies of Halloween. And I'll share those with you just as soon as I know them. Until next we meet, pull something cool off the shelf, share it with your friends and family, and remind them why physical media is the best way to watch films and TV. I'll see you guys on the next one.